Before I start, I have got some exciting news to share with you yet again. As I've said before, Mama Crow is getting a little bit fed up of this, but it won't be much longer now, Mother. So, mark your calendars for Crime Con Manchester 2025, partnered by True Crime. And it's set to take place on the 27th of September 2025. So CrimeCon UK is making its very first foray to Manchester this year, and I will be there, as well as some of the biggest names in true crime, at what promises to be the ultimate true crime event. And whether you've been watching my content from the start, you know who you are, or you've just started binging, this is your chance to meet up with me in person, grab some goodies from the table, share your theories, and perhaps even uncover new details behind some of the stories that I cover. I am more than excited to meet anyone and have no expectations that anybody wants to meet me, but tough, I'm going to be there, and just treat me as a roundabout. And join me and the true crime community at CrimeCon Manchester, partnered by True Crime, the expert-led true crime channel available across all platforms. Let's make this the most unforgettable CrimeCon yet. You won't want to miss it. If you're going, come and find me. Use code CROWS for 10% off. Now on with the episode. In these peculiar modern times, social media platforms have become increasingly more important to people, particularly young people who have never known life without them. So those who achieve a degree of fame or success through their online presence can also put something of a target on their own back, simply through jealousy or resentment. But sometimes even such golden personalities can be caught up in something that has absolutely nothing to do with their perceived status. In today's case, we travel to California in 2021 to look at a young couple taking their first steps into a relationship and finding themselves caught up in something that had nothing to do with them, an event that could not have been predicted. This is the tragedy of the Corona theatre shooting, and this is Murder of Crows. Corona, from the Spanish for crown, is a city in northwestern Riverside County, California, directly bordering Orange and San Bernardino counties. Its current mayor is Jim Steiner. At the 2020 census, the city had a population of 157,136, about 5,000 more than at the 2010 census. Corona is surrounded by Riverside to the east, Norcourt to the north and northeast, Yorba Linda to the northwest, Cleveland National Forest and the Santa Ana Mountains to the west and southwest and south. Several unincorporated communities are along the rest of the city's borders. Downtown Corona is approximately 48 miles or 77 kilometers southeast of downtown Los Angeles and 95 miles or 153 kilometers north-northwest of San Diego. Prior to the late 18th century, the area was primarily inhabited by the Tongva and the Pyomka-Witcham, who lived in a series of villages throughout the area. What is now Corona stood at the southeastern extent of Tovangar, or the Tongva world, and at the northern edge of Pyomka-Witcham territory. The primary settlement in the area was the village of Pawxaxa, which was established along the banks of the Temescal Creek at about where Corona is situated today. The settlement was shared by both the Tongva and Pyomka-Witcham people. Cooperation and marriages between the two villages was common. High above the city of Corona, the village of Pamajam was also located in a small valley of the Santa Ana Mountains. Corona was founded at the height of the Southern California citrus boom in 1886 and is situated at the upper end of the Santa Ana River Canyon, a significant pass through the Santa Ana Mountains. The town of Corona was once the lemon capital of the world. A museum there presents the lemon's former role in the local economy. The city's name, meaning crown in Spanish, was used due to the circular shape of a crown and the circular shape of Grand Boulevard. In fact, Corona is known as the Circle City due to Grand Boulevard's 3-mile or 4.8 kilometer circular layout. It is one of the most residential cities in the Inland Empire, but also has a large industrial portion on the northern half, being the headquarters of companies such as Fender Musical Instruments Corporation, Rock On, Monster Beverage Corporation, Slurpee Slurpee, and sports car manufacturer Saleen, I Wish. But for this episode, we're more interested in entertainment. and one of Corona's many movie theatres. On the evening of July the 26th, 2021, rising social media star 19-year-old Anthony Barajas and Riley Goodrich, who was 18, decided to attend a 9:35 screening of The Forever Purge at the Regal Edwards Theatre in Corona. With almost 1 million TikTok subscribers and known online as It's Anthony Michael, Anthony had started posting online in 2019, making singing videos and doing pranks and challenges like so many other young people his age. Anthony and Riley had been friends, but when romantic feelings developed, this was to be their first official date. In addition to the couple, 20-year-old Jose Jimenez and his high school friends, Carlos, Ramon, and Julian, were also in attendance that night. And in fact, they were the only ones in there. Before heading to the movie, the 4 school friends had gone out to dinner. Carlos would later tell authorities that Jimenez had been behaving strangely, even for him. But they had brushed it off as him just trying to be the center of attention. His companions would later recall that Jimenez had brought a backpack along, which they had convinced him to leave in the car, since large bags weren't allowed inside the theatre. They know me too well. I use large bags to smuggle food in, but that's just me. After being seated in the theatre, Jimenez's odd behaviour worsened. He began talking to himself, muttering under his breath, "I can't do that to them. They're my friends." Carlos said that when they asked him what was wrong, instead of responding with words, he had given them what he could only describe as a death stare. Once the movie started, the rest of the group tried to focus on the screen instead of on Jimenez, who was still mumbling under his breath. Now, as I said, Anthony and Riley were the only other patrons in the theatre that night. And if they were aware of this friend group, they hadn't given any indication of it. Even though she had sent a text to a family member saying the movie wasn't any good, the young couple were nonetheless hitting it off very well. With a half hour or so left in the film, Jimenez's friends told him that they were leaving. Though they hadn't said it out loud, Jimenez was starting to scare them, and they simply didn't want to be around him anymore that night. Jimenez had followed them outside, where he retrieved his backpack. When someone asked him what was inside, he replied, "A strap," which they took to mean a handgun. He then told them he was going back inside to finish the movie. No one stopped Jimenez as he re-entered the cinema and seated himself directly behind Anthony and Riley, who seemed to be completely oblivious to the danger that they were now in. Minutes later, he put the gun to the back of Anthony's head and pulled the trigger. Without blinking an eye, he had then turned the weapon on Riley, shooting her once before grabbing his bag and fleeing the scene. Fully aware of what he had done, Jimenez had made a run for it out through the back entrance. Witnesses saw him exit the cinema complex and make for his car. As he sped off into the night, they had no way of knowing that he had just shot 2 people in cold blood. Now, with the film duly completed and credits rolling, theatre employees tasked with cleaning up discovered the bodies and quickly called 911. Riley was pronounced dead at the scene, and despite having been mortally wounded, Anthony was somehow still clinging to life. He was rushed to the hospital, where he was placed on life support. When Jimenez's friends saw the news the next morning, they phoned police and gave them the name of the person they believed to be responsible for the shooting. When interviewed by investigators, Carlos, Julian, and Ramon recounted the events of the previous night. They swore that, although they felt Jimenez was unhinged and knew he had a gun of some sort, they didn't think he was going to hurt anyone. Detectives learned from Jimenez's family that he had undergone a drastic change in personality in 2020 following the death of his mother. Though he had no known mental health issues up until her passing, shortly after her passing, he had complained of hearing voices that told him to do things he didn't want to do. Over the course of the next year and a half, give or take, Jimenez had been in and out of numerous mental health facilities. After exhaustive testing, he was diagnosed as schizophrenic. While it wasn't good news, doctors assured the family that the condition could be controlled. Though not everyone responds to treatment, Jimenez did surprisingly well, reacting to and getting relief from the medication. The only problem was that upon his release, he would immediately stop taking his medication, and the hallucinations and delusions would return. The medical personnel who treated Jimenez had made it clear to him that in order to function in society, he would have to take his meds without fail and steer clear of street drugs. He would agree to these terms and then revert to his old ways the very first chance that he got. He even posted videos of himself online, smoking pot and getting intoxicated. His behaviour made it clear that he knew exactly what to say and do to win over his doctors. Believing that by now that his mental illness was effectively a get-out-of-jail-free card, when he was picked up 2 days after the shootings, Jimenez admitted everything, but claimed that the voices inside his head had ordered him to kill the couple. He confirmed that Anthony and Riley were strangers to him. They hadn't done anything to draw his attention or his anger, and he had no grudge against them. According to him, the killings weren't personal. They were just something he had felt compelled to do.
We begin with breaking news. An arrest has been made after a deadly shooting inside a Riverside County movie theater on Monday night. Police now confirm that 20-year-old Joseph Jimenez has been booked on murder, robbery, and attempted murder charges. Detectives say witness statements helped lead to his arrest. During a search of his home, a firearm matching the caliber of the weapon used in the murder was found. Jimenez is accused of opening fire on two people who were watching a movie together Monday night. 18-year-old Riley Goodrich died at the scene, and her friend, 19-year-old Anthony Barajas, is on life support. Police say there were only 6 people inside the theater at the time. It's not yet clear if Jimenez knew the victims. Right now, police say there is no known motive, and it appears to be an unprovoked attack.
We can't imagine the significant amount of pain both families and the friends are feeling right now, but we hope the suspect's arrest will bring some relief knowing that he's in jail now.
Day in court for the 20-year-old man charged with shooting and killing one teenager and critically wounding another inside a movie theater in Corona. That accused gunman now facing murder and attempted murder charges. The victim's father confronted him in court today.
Hey, look at me, bro. Look at me.
That was Riley Goodrich's father. Earlier today, her mother spoke with NBC4's Tony Shin about their devastating loss.
She's my baby, my firstborn, and got ripped away from me doing something so innocent, and it breaks my heart.
Danielle Goodrich and her 18-year-old daughter Riley not only resembled each other, they were also best friends.
She was my rock. She told me all the time, "Mom, you're strong," when I didn't believe I was strong.
On Monday night, Riley was out on a date with 19-year-old Anthony Barajas watching a movie at this Corona theater when they were both shot in the head while sitting in their seats. Riley didn't survive, and Anthony is fighting for his life.
Poor Anthony. They were just starting their relationship. He's a beautiful boy, and my heart goes out to his family.
The Regal Edwards Theater surveillance cameras weren't working, but thankfully witnesses led Corona police to this man, 20-year-old Joseph Jimenez.
He's a sick monster.
Investigators say they collected evidence from Jimenez, including a gun matching casings left at the scene, and also Riley's wallet.
Still, police say they don't have a motive for the shooting, calling it a random, unprovoked attack.
My life will never be the same. She was a beautiful girl that had a lot to offer.
Danielle shared with us her last text messages with Riley while her daughter was still at the theater.
And I said, "Well, what are you doing?" She says, we're in the movie and there's only 6 people in the movie theater. I said, "That's very scary, honey." And she says, "Mom, it's fine." And then I said, "Hey, honey, don't worry about it. Mom loves you very much and I will always take care of you." And that was the last text message I sent her.
The next morning, when Riley didn't come home, Danielle sent one more text, a scripture from the Bible.
And she didn't respond, and she always responds. I just want my baby back. It's not fair.
Tony Shin, NBC4 News.
By this time, Anthony was still technically alive, But his family made the difficult decision to remove him from life support. And he died on Saturday, July the 31st, 5 days after he had been shot.
Update to share involving the movie theater shooting in Corona. A second teenager has now died. 19-year-old Anthony Barajas spent the last 4 days on life support. He lost that fight this morning. Barajas and 18-year-old Riley Goodrich were on a date at the movies Monday night when they were shot inside the theater. The accused shooter, Joseph Jimenez, made his first court appearance yesterday. He's facing murder charges.
A search of the residence in El Cerrito, where Jimenez was living, uncovered a gun that ballistics experts determined was the murder weapon. Investigators also found Riley's wallet on the premises, along with other personal property belonging to each of the victims. So the fact that he had taken the time to rifle through the pockets of the individuals he had coldly just shot seemed indeed to add another level of coldness and callousness, but also suggested someone who knew exactly what they were doing. It also hadn't helped his case that he had taken great pains to hide evidence of his wrongdoing. Jose Jimenez was arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder in the first degree, with the special circumstances of lying in wait and taking more than one life with the aid of a firearm. At his initial court hearing, he pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, as his knowledge of the system would prompt him to do. In December of 2023, Jimenez chose to have the judge decide the case, foregoing a jury trial. He was ultimately found guilty on all counts, after the court concluded that he was in control of his mental faculties at the time of the murders. The penalty phase got underway 2 months later, during which the families of Anthony and Riley were permitted to give victim impact statements. After carefully weighing all available options, the judge sentenced Jimenez to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
An indeterminate sentence of life without the possibility of parole.
It was a packed courtroom Monday for the sentencing of 23-year-old Joseph Jimenez, who walked into court wearing orange prison garb and a shaved head. Jimenez was charged with the fatal shootings of 18-year-old Riley Goodrich and 19-year-old Anthony Barajas in a Corona movie theater July of 2021. Both teens were honor students and standout athletes on a first date who were shot in the head during the movie. Jimenez's attorney argued the defendant suffered from schizophrenia and didn't know what he was doing when he shot the innocent victims. But the judge ruled Jimenez, despite his mental illness, knew right from wrong and could have stopped himself from committing the killings. Families of both victims gave gut-wrenching testimony on how the murders had shattered their worlds. Riley's parents were too broken up to be present, but her grandparents and best friend attended. A river of tears poured down her friend's face.
945 days that our hearts have been shattered and will never be the same.
The victim impact testimony went on for over an hour. Anthony's younger sister spoke of life without her big brother.
I was a 16-year-old girl going into my senior year of high school with high hopes for myself. This tragedy broke me.
Anthony's dad crossed himself as he prepared to speak on behalf of his son, choking with emotion.
To warn your friends to leave, to lie in wait and shoot 2 innocent people in the back of the head because you wanted to rob them.
Catherine Barajas, wearing blue, which was her son's favorite color, looked deeply at the defendant. Her testimony appeared to move the defendant.
You had no regard what your actions would do to my relationship with my son. How your actions would take away the chance for my son to ever be with me or any of his family again.
The defendant spoke briefly, extending condolences to the two families. The emotion in the courtroom caused a hush. After court let out, victims' families reacted to the sentence.
This is the result that the family desired in connection with this particularly atrocious matter.
In Riverside, Laura Diaz, Fox 11 News.
When the killer was asked if he had anything to add, he had apologized to the families, saying he wished he had done things differently. Differently? Fucking hell! Which part did he want to do differently? Some who followed the case from the beginning wondered if the fact that Jimenez had carried out the shootings during a movie whose premise involved a dystopian future America where murder is legal from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. one night each year was by accident or design. While it may very well have been a coincidence, the notion that the call to release the beast had carried over into real life added yet another layer to an already inconceivable random act of violence. By the time the film had ended that night in the theatre, 2 people were shot in the real world. One dying right there and then, and one clinging on to life only technically. They may have been caught up in a psychotic episode, or just in the sinister plan of a man using mental health struggles as a smokescreen for bad intentions. But either way, 2 very young and innocent people lost their lives for no reason. They did not know Jimenez and had never encountered him before this chance meeting in an almost empty movie theatre. Anthony was making waves with his online presence, which was growing daily. He was well loved by those who knew him for his warm personality and generosity. And because of his online reach, he was mourned by people all over the world. Riley was majoring in marketing at Grand Canyon University in Phoenix, Arizona at the time of her death. On break from her studies, she was thrilled to spend time with Anthony, who she was pleased to find was down to earth and not at all affected by his status as an influencer. She was a former cheerleader and a champion volleyball player. She had always been an overachiever and had plans to go places in life. Their lives were cut needlessly short, and this episode is dedicated to these young people who were caught up in something they could neither have known or predicted. I send love to all of those affected by the senseless deaths of these innocent young adults. Thank you for watching another episode of Murder of Crows. Don't forget that CrimeCon UK will be coming to Manchester in September. And there is still time to get involved with one of the UK's finest true crime events. And if you use my code CROWS, you can get 10% off tickets. But with that said, I'm Steve. This fluffy mercenary is Samson. And we will see you when we see you.